Yeah.
They can cancel the contract?
He never deposited money in the escrow account. He had a piece of crap contract. I asked her, I said, who wrote this contract? He dictated to her what to write, and then she signed it. I'm like, and that didn't seem wrong to you? She's like, I don't know. Oh, he was so mad, dude. So mad.
I still,
So she canceled it, he had no recourse because he never made open escrow, so it was page 14.
yeah, but we're getting it, we're wholesaling or looking for a sub-2 buyer, whatever we're doing. We're
So-
doing a 21-day contingency, we're to go down and open up escrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, and if you don't find one, you.
If we get a sub-2 buyer,
We're not talking about.
We're
We're talking about wholesaling.
Just wholesale this time.
Yeah, we're on wholesaling right now.
how do we know if we're gonna wholesale, what if we don't know if we're gonna wholesale it or sub-2?
Fill them all out and go there and see which one she signed.
You've already done your property research and your valuation, man.
You know which way you're going for sure.
For the most part, yeah. I've had the price conversation on the phone. I know where we're going. I know what my options are.
If you gave her a number that you're buying, you've already figured out which way, if it's a wholesale number,
Yeah.
if it's.
Let's take the example of the gal today that has the house up in the hills. Am I going to wholesale that one? No, I'm definitely not wholesaling that property. She said she'd consider a large down payment, so I know I'm going to be going terms with her. I just got to get real specific on terms and how much she really would accept up front going forward on that particular property.
Why wouldn't you wholesale it for sure?
Anyone want to help them out?
Too much money up
It's a
front.
retail deal.
Yeah.
Too much money up front, but it might be too much money up front for sub-2 buyer.
Well, if you're wholesaling, you're still gonna get someone who wants to flip it.
She wants the full price though.
So
Yeah.
if she wants full price, that's not gonna work, because the flipper is gonna want
The 70%
70%.
minus repairs.
minus repairs, so.
We good?
And to answer your question, I thought you were gonna say is on 14, where it says 15 up top, you were asking, once you have it on, what is your protection that she's not gonna sell it out from under you once you have the contract? It's right there.
Yeah. What I would do, so for example, like I'm not gonna come sneak up and like take someone's contract, but if someone is like in the 21-day contingencies and they have not like found somebody, I'd be like, whoa, 21 days? Sounds a bit odd. Go with that person, but if things don't work out, I'm definitely interested in this property. If they back out for whatever reason, let me know. And that's how I play it. And then I follow back up in 3 weeks. Hey, did this person back out? Or I'll follow up in a month because it's 30 days.
Or you might get the call.
Yeah, I might get the call. Did they close? Oh, no, they didn't. They said that something happened. They're doing extensions and all this stuff. Well, in order to do an extension, she has to agree to that extension. I can say, cool, go ahead and do what you want. You can agree to extend, or you can just go ahead and terminate the deal, and I can close right now. That's only if I'm like rock solid. I'm not going to do that and like, oh, just kidding. I'm the same guy as well. I'm just shopping around for you. Don't want that. So on my purchase and sales, that's how I do it. It's just real quick, real clear. If you're not familiar with like prices and like so like all my contingencies now, I have like a 7 to 10 day contingency. The guy's gonna go out there and just double check my work. That's all it really is. But if I don't have a buyer or I'm kind of uncertain because the area is kind of like a different area, I'm gonna bring my cash buyer with me, and he's gonna walk the property. He's gonna tell me his price, and then I go back and I say, here you go. I can close now with confidence in my time frame. So never be afraid to bring somebody with you that you feel it will be like a relationship.
Okay.
And if they cut you out, then they were never a partner to begin with.
You're talking about before you get under contract.
Yeah, of course.
Do you bring that buyer with you and you walk through the property and the customer and the seller's still there?
So I wholesaled the property one time in Sacramento. I got them down to 127. We ended up selling it for 141. And no, we ended up selling it for 150. So And the guy was like, look, I'm not going any lower than 127. 127 is my bottom line. So my buyer, who is who I'm wholesaling this property to, comes along, looking at all your things. They're like, yeah, we really like this property. Jose is the guy's name. Jose's in the backyard. They're really chatting it up and all this stuff. And jokingly, he goes, so, Jose, what do you think about coming down a couple of grand on this price, on your price? And he goes, I already told you guys I'm not going any lower. And I thought he was going to say, I'm not going to go any lower than 127. I was like, no, like slow motion. Like, I was like, no. He goes, I'm not going to go any lower than the price I've already told you guys. I was like, oh. Because, I mean, that was a big spread. And they were like, when we said 150, she's like, it's really kind of tight for us. If you could, like, come down to, like, 145, that would work for us. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. We need to be right at 150 because it's kind of tight for us, too, at 127. Well, I had a partner on that one that we were split with and all that stuff. But still.
Once you go into escrow, don't you see both and they see both?
No. No, you have a buyer side and you have a seller side. And they're completely, other states, they will disclose that. In California, they're completely separate. You don't see what the other party is making or spread or anything like that.
They're not
Yep.
supposed to.
No. Yeah, not supposed to. Sometimes the title company, like the one in Fresno, decides, hey, guess what? We didn't like you anyway, so let's share everything with everybody.
You know how bad it is with that?
The way around it, though, is like, look, I'm making a profit on this one. And I said, the way I make money is I don't represent anybody. The way I make money is I find properties for guys that buy. I have 3 or 4 guys that are constantly buying properties. They're too busy rehabbing to actually spend the time out in the field. And so what they've done is they've hired me to go in to find these properties, and they pay me a finder's fee, and that's how I make some money. So if it ever comes up that there's a difference in there, I'm like, that's my finder's fee. So I'm completely upfront and transparent with
And
these
how many
people.
properties do you go and look at and make no money?
A lot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not just like, they just see the one that you're making money on.
But
Yep.
they're looking at, they're focused on one particular thing.
Yep.
So,
So you made your money, that's your split between 150 to 127, right?
We split it 50-50, so we ended up making I don't know, like $11,000 on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
It was a good deal.
yeah, so you split whatever the difference is.
I try to get them to buy other properties of mine, and they won't return my phone calls. So lesson learned on that one was that I skinned them too close. So if I would have probably went to 145, 142, 3, I think that the relationship still would be there. They made money, just not as much as they could have. Every time I give them other opportunities, they're like, nah, Ryan, it's cool, thanks for calling us, but we just, your deals are, they've politely said, your deals are just too tight for us now.
You would think
It was their first deal. It was their very first deal. They borrowed money from a friend. They got their taste, and they saw what was really happening, and they're like, oh, okay. Because they see on public record what we bought it for. So I did double close on it. I closed at 127, sold to them at 150.
And can you talk on a little bit, without taking the time, is the double close process?
We're actually going to talk about that, yeah.
Okay.
But for a real quick purpose, have you guys heard of double close before? Okay. What is the purpose of a double close, and why would you double close? Hide how much you're making. Yep. So a double close is where A is selling to B and B is selling to C. But C is your end buyer. A is your original seller. B is the middleman. Middleman usually is broke or doesn't have any money, doesn't want to use his own money. So what a double close is you are using the money from C to fund this transaction so that you can then sell to him. The double close, or it's called a simultaneous close.
And do you actually need to have a loan, that quick loan to do that, or is it that?
No, that's the whole purpose. You don't need the transactional funding. If you're gonna do 2 closes, you need transactional funding.
you do need transactional funding.
If you're doing two separate closes.
Right, okay.
Well, this is two separate closes.
That's what,
But
that,
they're not tied together.
They're simultaneous, yeah. So you're using the funds from your buyer, and you guys have this. It's called an escrow agreement. I have the form in here that says that all parties are aware that this is exactly what is happening in this transaction. All parties meaning this guy, and the title company. So you can use that. Another way of doing it is
So you're B in that equation, obviously.
I am being this. This is you. So my C comes to the table with his funds. He'll wire his money 2 or 3 days beforehand. So the money is just sitting here. So money's in escrow. It's just waiting for everyone to sign. Seller comes in, takes care of his business. I come in, I take care of my business. I turn around, take care. Obviously, sign same day paperwork. Seller comes in, he signs, and we're done.
okay.
And I would do this on properties where I'm making more than $20,000 as my spread, my assignment fee.
You wouldn't?
I would,
Okay.
definitely would.
So then when you're doing this, they know that you're making more money on it then.
Obviously. Again, these guys don't care. They want to make money as well. If they're hitting their price, what do they care what I'm making? They're making their price, their money. Why would I sell it to him for $255 when I can sell it to him for $250 and still walk away with some good money? Same thing. So transactional funding is what, transactional funding is, there are lending institutions out there that will loan you money for 1 day and 1 day only. And that transactional funding, let's call it trans fund. They'll just give you enough money so you can be on title for the day and you sell to this person. You're going to be paying points and interest. It's anywhere between 2 and 3 points. What's a point?
1%.
1% of the loan amount. So if it's a $200,000 loan, $4,000 to $6,000 all up front, plus a couple percent, 5-6% interest. It can end up costing you about $8,000 to do something like that.
But you don't need to do that.
Not if you got this one. Title companies are starting to kind of get away from this. You got to find a good title company that's willing to work with you on it.
Well, if your end buyer's got the deal they want, they don't care if you make money on the deal, then there's no point in doing double close. They got
Correct.
more money.
So I have exactly right. So most of my buyers now are like, Ryan, we don't care. We will pay you out of escrow if you want us to. What's the advantage of being paid out of escrow?
You're not,
I'm not even on the contract anymore. I just had them
he's
just
not
go.
on contract, so there's no record of him.
They go directly with the seller. I completely just, hey man,
It's just an assignment.
I don't even do that.
He's on the side?
Yeah.
These guys aren't going to cut me out because they want the deal. They're too busy rehabbing to go find and do all the stuff that I do to bring them a property.
He's doing their legwork.
The moment that they do, they just cut themselves off the knees,
What
man.
did you say, is a gift horse yesterday?
That's right. You never look a gift horse in the mouth. So
When you're a C, you don't care. If you're making your numbers, you don't care.
that's all that matters.
You just don't care.
I have another way that I get around this as well is that I'm now a consultant. I have a marketing consultant agreement with these people. So one of these that I closed on never even was even on. I brought the buyer to the person, set it all up, and I said, look, let's take a step out of this one. You take care of it. He pays me. He paid me actually out of escrow, but it was in a marketing agreement. So I made $5,000 as a marketing consultant that was paid out of escrow. He paid for that lead.
Nothing on paper.
Nothing on paper. Nothing.
Okay, so the ways that you can do it are double close. You get paid out of escrow is the second option. And then the third option is what? You bring
It's an
your
assignment. It's an assignment, yeah.
and that way you bring both. So, again, on this escrow thing, if I don't have a buyer, how do I open up escrow? I just bring this in?
You are the buyer.
You are.
You are the buyer.
Okay,
Yep.
so I just bring this in and
Open up escrow, yeah.
You said we are gonna
Yeah,
cover
21
when
days.
and when not to open escrow? Like when we would use that option versus
Yes.
signing something?
Yes, yes. Well, anytime you're going to sign a contract, you're opening escrow. You're opening escrow, yep, yep.
Would you feel it would be okay to put $100 deposit to open escrow and an increase in 21 days to whatever, $500?
You could do $10 open escrow,
Yeah.
yeah. Or you can open escrow and not even put any money in it. Escrow is them having the contract and it's open.
The contract says that, and I'm under the impression that if you don't put any consideration up, you don't have a contract. In order to be a legitimate contract, there must be consideration.
I've had this conversation with attorneys,
Uh-huh.
and it's considered. So it's what is considered consideration.
There's multiple things.
Exactly.
A promise for a promise.
Yep.
A promise for, cash or something like that.
And so I can't give you legal advice. I can tell you what was told to me, and it was that if the contract has been signed, the consideration has been accepted.
Okay.
So the terms that are in play, if it's signed, they accept that consideration.
The terms are the consideration.
Yep.
And if there's a foreclosure in process, you can't give them a deposit for 5 days.
That's right.
It's called coercion.
If they're living in the property.
Only if it's owner occupied.
Owner occupied.
Yep.
Correct.
So sub 2, exact same contract. The only thing that is different is on page what?
What is the exact verbiage of the terms if I'm selling to a realtor or licensed agent or broker?
Contract may be assigned to a licensed real estate agent. Acting as the principal buyer. Or a contract may be assigned to another buyer who is also a licensed real estate agent. Or a contract may be assigned to an LLC whose principal agent is a licensed real estate agent.
A lot of things.
Yep. So on sub 2s, it's the only thing that's different, it's the exact same contract. The only thing that's different, it says the buyer agrees to purchase the property and as its condition, of course, same thing. Buyer purchasing property subject to the existing loan. Buyer will make payments on current loans. So you're stating that you're going to make these loans current.
Which one?
Page 16. Contract contingent upon buyer finding a suitable tenant for the property. So you're letting them know, like, look, I am buying this property. I'm taking over these payments. It's a huge risk for me to do that. I want to make sure that I have someone that's suitable to me in this property. In other words, I'm not going to put my money at risk until I know I have someone that's going to be able to handle those payments for me. The loan amount of the property is approximately, and I put that loan balance in there. Buyer to pay all closing costs, property to be deeded to buyer at closing with a warranty deed.
So is there anything in the contract about bringing the arrears current?
No.
No.
No. It's no, I don't put that in there anywhere. That's usually part of the conversation, unless I'm doing a foreclosure defense, which then I never even use a contract. It's just a given.
So this one you don't need to open up escrow.
I'm going to say yes, you do need to open up escrow on everything. Because escrow is going to insure your title of the property. If you don't have insurable title, then you are not. It's going to be difficult if you come to transfer that property in the future, or go to sell it, because escrow's going to go, whoa, who's this? Eric Genesoto? Who? When did you transfer this property to him, and how come it didn't go through a title company if it was a sale?
And if you don't know Alexis, Minnie will yell at you.
It's just a contract.
So we're going to get into actually on our closing on module 6, why and when to use an escrow company or a closing company.
This is the contract I use, and I on Freeman.
Yeah, you don't. So there are what's called a table funding, table closing, where you just have a notary out there at the house and they just sign the documents and you own the property. It's a completely legitimate way to do it. If you ever go to sell the property in the future, or the person who's buying the property from you wants to refinance or do something, they're going to run into they could potentially run into title problems. If there's encumbrances or liens that were never discussed or disclosed, you're like, well, what happened here? Because no one ran a title search.
Yeah, basically it's covering your butt.
Yep.
Is what it's doing. And if you don't know that person that had that property for as long as they've had it and make sure that they are current on everything, you're taking a risk.
When I was broke, So in South Carolina and in Georgia, I paid for all of my, so we're in a title state. We use a title company, title officers and stuff like that. In Georgia and South Carolina, it's an attorney state. So you have attorneys that do all of this stuff. And so my closings out there were $600. They run a title search. The attorney drafts up the contract. We're done. $600. I'm like, sure. $600 is no big deal. Fast forward out here to California. I'm like, whoa, $3,200? Okay. $3,200. I'll get back to you. Hey, mobile notary, want to meet me at the house? Okay, yeah. Deed the property over to me. Okay, good. We're done. And they would deed these properties over to me. And I have all these properties that have been deeded over to me that are not insured. I don't have insurable title. Because when you go and you sell a property, what are you selling? You're not selling the property. You're selling clear and clean title. So I have a bunch of properties that are not insurable. So I've sold a few of these, and I've learned this the hard way. Like, oh crap, I got to go back to the original seller. Where's he at? Got to find this guy because he has to sign an affidavit that says, yes, I did sign that over to Ryan. Yes, we didn't go through a title company. Maybe we should have, but it's okay. This is my affidavit that I did make this transfer.
Can you have them sign that affidavit when you sell, or when they buy originally?
We're going to get, so again, we're kind of jumping the gun. I have ways that I now have done to protect myself, but for this class and purposes, I'm going to say that go through title. I just closed the house right now in Sacramento that we actually went through a title company. Who paid the closing costs on the title company, the $3,200? My buyer did. Yes, it's less money in my pocket. So what? But her plan was to live in it, fix it up, and turn around and refinance it in the next 3 years. That was her plan. So I told her, I said, look, these are your options. I can't give you legal advice. This is what I would do in your situation. This is what would happen in this case. This is what happened in this case. Either way, you're going to have to figure out how to do title. Just do title now, get it clear, and transfer it into your name with insurable title. Or in 3 or 4 years when you're ready to sell, see if this lady's still alive and try to find where she's at. And do it that way. And she's like, oh, okay, yeah, we're definitely going to do that. So she paid for it. So yeah, I recommend, I encourage, use a title company when you're buying these properties. All right, guys, subject 2, talked about that. It's a California-only contract. It's called equity purchase. This contract's a bit crazy. So basically, it's kind of the same thing. You have buyer, seller, property address, any personal property in case they're walking away from it. Just like, look, you can have my car, all this stuff, my guitar case, whatever you want, my old collection of nickel coins. You're going to put in what fair market value is for that house, what your consideration is. So basically, so you're going to give them fair market value. You're going to say, yes, all fixed up, this house could be worth X. You have to do that.
Does it mean at the current value, as is?
It says determined by comparables to be approximately.
Comparables, ones in similar conditions.
You could do that, yeah. For me personally, I always give them the contrast of what it could if all fixed up. Because at that point, they're like, I can't fix it up. I don't have that much money. That's how I.
It's kind of hard to be called to the same condition, especially if it's really.
It was like, yeah, like so for me, it's always easier just to go, hey man, this is all fixed up, brand new kitchens, top of the line, 2018, bathrooms, kitchens, floors, paint, all that stuff. And I start like tacking on all of these things that have to get done, and all of a sudden you just see them like, oh gosh, I'll never get that for my house. No, you won't. So that's how I do it. Just make it easy. Consideration says, in consideration for said property, buyer agrees to pay seller as seller's equity in the portion of total sum of. So this is where you're saying, this is how much I am going to pay you. This is how much cash in hand you will walk away with.
Not including them paying off their loans and everything.
Nope, this is strictly for their equity. That's what it says. It says for their equity. So additional terms, if any. So then it says right here, in big, bold print, in no event shall any money or other consideration be transferred to seller by buyer at any time prior to the expiration of seller's rights to cancel this contract. So that's what you were talking about.
Yep.
Steve was saying he was right. You cannot give them any money. So then I have them put in their first mortgage. I do their first mortgage balance and payment, second mortgage balance and payment, and the third mortgage if balance and payment. Under third mortgage, if there's not a third mortgage, I put any arrears amount, how much that may be. under the third, that's mortgage, like that's arrearage. So like, for example, that house over off of C Street, it would be what, like 175 plus 60 plus that $30,000 or $54,000. Yeah, I'd be putting that in there as well.
How many, loans can be on that house?
I've seen houses with 6 liens on them. First, second, city lien, and then a bunch of small other like utility bills and stuff like that that are attached to the property. Taxes not being paid, all kinds of stuff. And some poor guy came and bought the 6th of all of them for like $2,000. He's like, yeah, I bought this house for $2,000, suckers.
Remember when that happened?
Yeah, that's right, dude. So what you know what happens when you buy the junior lien or the junior to the junior? When you buy that $2,000 lien, you've automatically inherited all of the other liens on top of it. So he bought that property subject to all of its other liens. So now if he didn't pay those liens off, guess what happens? Foreclose, and he's now has a tax consequence or responsibility for not the mortgages, but the liens, because he now owns those liens. They're his liens now. He's the owner of the property.
Now, if you about first
If he
position,
forecloses.
If you bought first position, you wipe everything out behind you.
but when you're at the tail end,
Uh-huh.
you take on.
You take everything.
all.
Wait.
Very expensive lesson.
That's if you foreclose, right?
No.
What he's saying is, there's 6 positions. The guy took the 6th position, bought it for $2,000. So in the 6th position, everything from 1 through 5, that person absorbs. But if you take the $2,000 and it was the first position, the rest of that stuff.
Yeah, I understand that. But what if the utility company came in and was number 7? They're gonna absorb all the 6 before?
I would
That
assume
doesn't-
that
it just
7
doesn't make
would be
logical sense
absorbed.
to me why they would absorb.
It's called lien theory. You should definitely read up about it. Yeah. Lien theory is when you buy the lesser of the liens, you automatically are inheriting all the other ones. If you buy the first lien, you wipe everything else out because you're in first priority.
At auction,
Yep. At auction.
yeah.
And say the guys behind you wanna protect their position, say you're first and the guy in 6 says, holy crud, the guy in first is doing a foreclosure, I better go pay him to protect my number 6 spot. So the guys that are behind, to protect their 2,000 that this fellow put up, he has to take care of all the guys ahead of him and all their payments, or he might lose his investment.
Okay, but his only risk is the 2,000 though.
Right.
No,
And the tax-
no,
and the lien
no.
forgiveness.
No.
How do you own the IRS lien for, doing a loan? You don't, do you? 'Cause some of the things that would come before or any recording.
IRS is always first priority.
Right.
IRS supersedes everything.
And then, child support.
Child support next, and then you got
HOAs.
So he becomes liable for all those liens?
not the child support, but if there's a lien on the property for like unpaid tax or taxes, HOA, like a utility for not paying like a water bill or a sewer bill or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, spring bill, yeah.
All right. In my neighborhood, the HOA has filed a foreclosure notice on a house.
Yep.
It's for $6,000, it's going up for auction.
Yep.
Say you purchase it.
Okay.
If I had the money to also pay off the first,
You're buying that house subject to the first mortgage.
so I could pay off the first.
No, you can continue making the payments on the first.
So you're saying is he pays the $6,000 and he now, takes over that mortgage?
Those payments, yeah. You don't have to pay it off.
So,
It's now you own the house and any debt obligation with it.
what would
Excuse
I
me.
do with the people in it?
Kick them out. If they're not paying, if they're paying, keep them. There you go. We just bought an HOA foreclosure. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
So you it went to auction, right?
We bought it from him before it went to auction.
And so all you did was you took that debt
Yeah.
to get current.
That's the difference.
We actually ended up, we were going to buy the lien from the HOA, and then we just thought it would be just quicker and better just to go ahead and just buy the entire thing from the guy at a huge discount. We bought it for 45, put 5 into it, and it's on the market right now for 70.
go to auction, I think they'll auction it, because I'm guessing these aren't Native American types, they're immigrants.
Gotcha.
I'm thinking they probably don't understand what's going on.
Do they own the house?
They own the, well, I mean, they have a mortgage on the house, but yes.
Yeah. Go knock on the door and see if the mortgage is current. Or look at the mortgage. The mortgage is not current. If not, I would not wait for the auction. I just go talk to them.
Yeah,
Bring it all current.
and so, and a lot of times the HOA, they'll be in arrears and the mortgage is up to date, because they say that, a lot of people think, well, I'm paying the mortgage, so they're not, I'm not gonna get foreclosed on.
That's true. That's the situation right now in South Carolina. I'm talking to a guy right now. He's been paying the mortgage for a number of years, 3 or 4, and he just got served his $8,000 HOA lien on the property. And I'm like, oh, okay. What can we buy this house for? How much is it worth? What are the monthly payments? I already know I'm into it. $8,000. What else do we need to talk about?
Just for not paying your HOA.
Oh, dude, HOAs are bad, dude. Yeah, if you don't pay your bills.
Yeah.
In SoCal, they're expensive as heck.
Yeah.
So how about if I own a house free and clear?
Uh-huh.
And I do seller financing,
Okay.
and the guy that I'm selling it to ends up getting, accruing an IRS lien, or already has one, let's say.
It's now attached to that property. If he's recorded that sell. How did you record seller? So you own it free and clear. More than likely, he took a note out, and that note's recorded. You're just the lien holder. He is a registered owner of that property. It's now attached to that property.
And he gets paid before, the IRS gets paid before I do.
Yes.
In that case, that's one of those ones where you can check the records and the IRS will come in at 5 p.m. and you can get jacked.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones.
So let's go back to this one because we have reservations for dinner. Buyer has a right to rescind this property
Where you at? I'm sorry.
on number 18,
Page 18.
page 18. So basically, the nuts and bolts of this one is mediation disputes. You need to figure this one out. You either agree or you not agree to mediate. If there's a court action, buyer agrees or does not agree. We all agree to mediate before going to court if anything were to happen. I can't tell them what to say, but I automatically X mine when I gave it to them. And they're like, "What do I say?" I'm like, you either want to fight me in a court or out of court if we have a disagreement. Out of court's fine. Or I say the cheaper way or the hard way. So we go with that. The real thing in this particular case is on page 20, and this is the notice required by California law, and it has to be this font size. This is the font size required by law.
They specify all of that.
It just says basically upon your right to cancel this contract, until your right to cancel this contract has ended, me or you, the buyer, or anyone working for you or the buyer cannot ask to sign or have any, or cannot ask you to sign or have you sign any deed or any other document. So it is an expiration date, midnight. That's it, or whatever that is. 5 business days. You sign it, they sign it. Then they also have this notice of cancellation to be filled out by you guys, the buyer. Specifically says that on the state contract. Seller signed the equity purchase agreement on this date. You have the right to cancel it by such and such date on this time, blah, blah, blah. To cancel it, you can either call or email me or send me any kind of notice of whatever. And that's it. This is if it's owner occupied and they are in NOD pre-foreclosure in California, this is the contract that you use.
So you have to sign that all at the time of signing?
At the time of signing, yep. If it's not owner occupied and it's in pre-foreclosure, I can use either one of those wholesale or sub-2 properties contracts, whatever I'm using.
And then if you.
And those are universal. You can use them in any state. I've used them in multiple states. Yep.
So if the house is empty.
The house is empty, yeah. Or if they're moving out, like that day.
So the mechanics behind this is we sign it all, and then we're gonna wait until this closing and escrow, and that's when all the transfer funds and everything happens.
Yeah. Oh, no.
You give them their cash right away.
No. Yeah. That's when that happens. Is they have to wait till it all closes and stuff like that. What typically happens is they're sub-2. These guys are they're gone like the wind. It's very difficult to get into like a title company and do all this stuff. There's a lot of liens and encumbrances, and so this is usually typically what happens. I'm like, oh crap, dude, I got to get this guy now before he bounces. I've had a lot of meth addicts that we end up just giving them $5,000 just to like, when it's all said and done, like just sign the property over and we'll deal with it when we need to. Because there's enough equity that we could just go ahead and absorb any cost that we would have in order to do a quiet title action or something like that. Because it wasn't clear and insurable title. Letter of authorization. I get this signed at closing, or excuse me, at contract when I'm doing a sub-2, subject to purchase, or there's an equity purchase. If I'm doing a wholesale deal, I don't get this signed. There's no reason to. This is what your title company is going to be doing. But basically, when you look at it, it says it's the amount needed to reinstate the loan. So I'm filling this all out. I'm getting all the lender's information, the loan number, everything, and I'm going to be faxing this over to them, and I'm going to give them instructions, either to how much is it going to take to reinstate the loan? I need to know that. Give me an itemized accounting of reinstatement figures if I think the numbers are way, way off. What the payoff is, if I'm going to do a mortgage payoff on the property. If I want to do a loan repayment or workout agreement, a loan modification, a short sale, postpone the sale, or anything else I want to have them do, I just put it in here.
This goes to the title company?
No, this goes to the lender. So this is a letter of authorization for them to release information to you. Do not do what I did when I first got this. I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. And put every single one down. They just ignore it. You don't get anything back. So
Just think some smuck's trying to.
just tie it all up. Just like trying to just do everything. Yeah, I never put more than 2. Like maybe a reinstatement and then a loan modification, or a reinstatement and a loan repayment plan, just something. I want to figure out, hey, what's going on? And then I put my email. My email in this particular case is defendmyforeclosure, or defendingmyforeclosure@gmail.com is the email that I put in there, and then my fax number. And then authorization to release, that they say, I authorize Ryan Nickel or Nickel Properties in association with this address. This information shall be provided for the use of Nickel Properties and all of their agents, or just Ryan Nickel and all of their agents. And then I have them put signature, name, date of birth, social security number. Some people are kind of like leery, like, I don't want to give you my social. Not a problem. I just put the last 4, and you're good. And you need this because when you call in, when you go through the automation system, what do they ask for? Last 4 of your social and the loan number. Sometimes they go, what's your date of birth? They like want to validate something. They get really crazy.
Everybody who's involved signs a separate one of these.
No, I just get one authorization, whoever's like on the mortgage. So I usually have them pull out the mortgage information so I make sure I'm writing down the right loan amount.
3 people on the mortgage.
Just the main person. Yeah. We're going to say, Eric?
And this information allows you to have access to be able to pay the mortgage?
No.
So how do you go about doing that? When you take a property subject to, how do you get access to pay the bank?
Yeah, we're gonna do that. So this right now is step 4, which is we're just getting the property under contract. We haven't closed on it yet. So when we close, that's one of the disclosures that we're gonna get to. Yeah, so we're gonna get that heavy in tomorrow. Seller. So any question on this? This is pretty straightforward. This is gonna be your a go-to resource you're gonna use every single time when you find someone in distress. Always get this signed.
Seems like that one and this one here,
If they live in the house.
only if they live.
Only if they live in the house, yeah. Remember my secret, right? Vacant pre-foreclosures. That way I can close faster. I don't have to wait 5 days before I can do something. Because 5 days, someone can come along and offer them more money. They can look at my contract and go, oh, he's only offering you that much, I'll offer you this much more.
And they're not emotionally attached to the property, so it's easy.
That's right. Because that 5-day rescission, you have a lot of competition that's still knocking on those people's doors because they live in the house. Not that's a bad idea, but I've lost a lot of deals just because someone goes, let me see their contract. Oh, he's offering you 10, I'll offer you 15.
Call cousin Guido.
Yeah. Seller acknowledgements. I use this a lot, either at closing or at the time of sale, at the time of contract. It depends on what I feel is going on with my seller. If I feel like my seller is kind of like squirrely, I'm going to do this acknowledgement. If they're totally cool, I don't even worry about it. I'll get it at closing. And this is only when I'm doing my sub-2 deals, sub-2 purchases. So I'll go over these real quick with you guys. So it says, I, the seller, as of this date, have agreed in writing to sell the property commonly known as the address to the buyer and or assigns according to the terms, conditions contained in the purchase and sale agreement of this date, given the copy to blah, blah, blah. So basically what they're initialing here is that they own the property. Okay, want to establish that fact. They've reviewed the terms and they've accepted it. They initial that they've accepted that. They feel like they're getting good and valuable consideration. I have them initial that this is in their best interest. They initial that they're fully informed and not confused. They are satisfied with the sales price. All sellers are final. They realize that they cannot change their mind later. Contingencies may exist. What contingencies may those be?
Right in.
Whatever I write in. If I'm having an inspection on the property, and if I'm uncertain about, like you said, whatever I write in. There was a house we bought with 2 wells, a well on each house and a septic on each house, and the guy's like, well, I don't know, that house hasn't been lived in for about 8 years now. I don't know if the well or septic are good. All right, well, that was a contingency that we wrote in. Number 9, I understand this is not a loan, especially if I am doing a subject to property. I am not taking a loan out. They're not giving me a loan. I am taking over payments on a loan, but they are not giving me a loan. Number 10, this agreement may be assigned. Number 11, no escrow. I understand that I may choose not to close this transaction with an escrow company.
This is on
Subject
subject to,
to.
do you feel that these folks are a little challenging?
You're going to see why it's. I think they're challenging on this next page right now, on page 24. Closing documents. They understand that they will be delivered, their closing documents, either out or inside of escrow. Copies of the paperwork, they'll be made to them. Here we go. I'm entitled to make a profit. They understand that, and they initial that I'm entitled to make a profit. They understand that. They've been advised to seek legal counsel, to have financial review. They feel that it's been fairly negotiated on their behalf. There's no precluding ailments. Basically, they're not physically, mentally, emotionally, challenged or whatever at that point. They're not under the influence of any drug or alcohol. They can't say, well, I was drunk. I didn't know what I was signing. They sign right here. There are no other promises. I'm not promising anything outside. No side agreements going on here. I'm not going to give you my sister's car or something like that if you send me this house. They're not under duress. I haven't pulled a gun out and held it against their head to sign these paperworks. That's usually the term I use. I'm like, I'm not holding a gun against your head to sign this, right? No. I love number 22, English language. I speak and read and understand the English language fluently.
Your Spanish buyer saying that?
If they're Spanish, I will actually write in. These terms have been explained to me, sufficiently explained to me in my native language of Spanish. And so they do initial that one. Yep. They're fully satisfied with the agreement. Buyer is not my agent. So these are just some disclosures that I get them at time of contract. If I feel that there could be anything later, they'd be like, oh, you know what? I think I want to get a better deal from you or whatever. Honestly, I've never had that happen.
So is it good to just do this all the time?
I just do it on all my sub-twos. It depends on when I choose not to do this is, you'll see tomorrow when we go over the actual closing documents, I actually have them sign an affidavit of understanding, and I have that notarized. And that affidavit goes into greater detail than this. And so if I am pressed for time and I realize that they're just like, yeah, we're totally cool, I'm not going anywhere, I don't even worry about this. If they're like, I feel like there may be like an Uncle Johnny in the background kind of pulling the strings, trying to tell them what they need to do, then I might go ahead and get this and use this as leverage to tell Uncle Johnny to back off if I need to.
I've got that with my neighbor house too.
Oh, okay.
My neighbor makes it talker and stuff, so I don't have to sign things, so.
Yeah.
But again, only on sub 2, not on wholesale.
I have no reason to do this on wholesale because I'm not the buyer.
Only you.
Yeah. My buyer is, you could use this on one.
You're protecting your buyer in that case.
My buyer's protected either way because he's in a contract. My buyer will sue for breach of contract if the person decides to back out. My buyer has no problem exercising his right to get a property.
Let's say you don't know who your buyer is.
If I don't know who my buyer is, I'm not worried about it. No, it wasn't meant to be, man. If they wanted to be a squirmy buyer or a seller at that point, then I'll go on and I'll find another property.
But you could do this and possibly save it.
Not necessarily.
Don't waste time, man.
Yeah.
Move on to something
This is
else.
more for my sub 2 deals, because sub 2 is such a strange thing that I want them to realize that, hey, we fully explained everything. You were totally cool and legit when I explained what a subject to purchase was. On a regular standard purchase and sell contract, where like I'm the buyer, your house, nothing crazy.
And the sub 2 goes for a longer amount of time. You have that relationship.
They're gonna come back, exactly right. They're gonna come back like 4 or 5 years and like, oh, you know what? Things are good now. I want my house back. I'm sorry, all sales are final. You knew that, which is why now I have an affidavit that's notarized instead of just doing this. So, just on the front end, if I feel like I need to, I can. Because sub 2 guys, sometimes they're in bad situations. They're like talking to all kinds of people. Crazy investors are coming out promising them the world, and obviously I've told you the story about this lady that was. She was a probate deal, and the seller the buyer told her that he was going to do it, and he realized that there was a solar lien on the property, and because of the solar lease, he backed out in the 11th hour, and it went to foreclosure. And she was in tears, and she came to me like a week before I was supposed to go. Obviously, I bought the house, but I was like, I couldn't believe it. For literally 9 months, this dude dragged it on. Almost, no, not 9 months, 6 months. He dragged it on and dragged it on and dragged it on. Oh, yeah, we're getting ready to close. Oh, yeah, I got to figure this thing out. Oh, yeah.
How do you go on for 6 months? How does a seller allow somebody to do that to themselves?
She's a no-better. She's an old lady. She was hoping for someone to, help her out.
Because after a few months, you're going to say,
Exactly right. So here's a question, guys. When you're showing the property, is it vacant or is it occupied? You need to know this. Did you get a key? So you have the property under contract. Bless you. You're marketing it. Is it vacant? Do you have a key? Do you need to make arrangements if someone's living there? Are you placing signs in the yard around the property? Do you have a buyer already in mind?
so on this one here, so once we have them sign the contract, we get a copy of the key, but if it's occupied, I need to give the occupant 24-hour notice, correct?
That's what the contract states. Yep.
And then if it's vacant, I just go ahead.
Yep.
There's another form too that I just found that explains the civil code to the occupant that allows you to come in during business hours with 24-hour notice if they refuse.
I have that notice as well.
I just found it. I didn't know it existed.
Yeah. I have that notice, guys. I'll give you that notice as well. I believe you already have it in your pack for when it comes to on the back end office stuff. But if you don't, I'll make sure it's included.
It was interesting. I had no idea. No one I know knew.
It has to be within business days, working in business hours with 24-hour
8 to
notice.
5
Yep.
business hours,
Cool.
business days.
Any questions? No. Okay. So what we still have to cover, going forward, tomorrow, is we are going to cover marketing the property. So if you remember the steps, let me show you this where we're at. We've talked about finding properties. We've talked about contacting the owners. We've talked about evaluating the properties. We've just finished the contract for the property. We've actually found a property, walked a property. You've heard some conversations of us talking to the sellers. We've done some numbers, evaluating stuff. So tomorrow, we are going to spend the bulk of our time going over how to market the property. We're going to talk about closing the property, all the disclosures, all of the paperwork, what needs to be notarized, what doesn't need to be notarized, when to use a title company, when not to use a title company. Then we're going to talk about back-end offices, and then how do you scale this stuff. So we're going to dive deep into the nuts and bolts that now happen behind the scenes. Because when you wholesale the property, you have the contract. Either you already have the buyer in mind, or you got to go out and find your buyer. But that's usually your problem. You're done. You step out of that. You're done. On to the next deal. What we're going to now talk about going forward is, what do you have going next? How all the magic that happens behind the scenes that you don't know that really happens behind the scenes.
You know, what do you think of this? So when you get a graphic on a property in contract, don't quite have a buyer, do a open house? New people?
It's a great question. I've done that.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll talk about that tomorrow. It's a great question. So tonight, guys, dinner is on me. We're going to the Ranch House. It's one of the best steak places here in the area. It's just my way to say thank you for investing in yourself and everything. So we have reservations at the Ranch House tonight. So, you able to make it? Nope. All right. So,
Reservations.
it's on George Washington and Franklin in Yuba City.
Don't learn anything while I'm not there.
Oh, we promised that.
Yeah.
How that goes.
That's a guarantee
So,
right
I have a
there.
quick question.
This on yours? Or that's right, you left yours at home.
On the Springville house.
Yes.
I just thought about this.
Okay.
So the $10,000 lien for the water, can they foreclose on that?
Oh, a utility bill cannot foreclose.
They can't.
And that's why they attach it to the property, so that whenever someone buys it, reinstates that loan or whatever, they have to pay that in order to get, that's why it's like some crazy amount of money.
Okay.
You asked
When you,
about
when you
which.
get that property,
Oh,
go
we
to
bought a
that,
house and it
Can you
it was a
negotiate
long story. We bought this house and
that,
it had a lien of $10,000 on it just for the water bill.
Oh,